Evening, I'm Ryan Bonazzo. Thank you for joining us. Officials at Thunder Bay Regional are welcoming a major investment from the province. Premier Doug Ford stopped by the hospital yesterday to make the funding announcement. Local media wasn't allowed to attend due to visitor restrictions. Ford announced $5.2 million to support the Our Hearts at Home campaign, which aims to bring cardiovascular surgical services to Thunder Bay. A number of vascular procedures are already being offered locally, and the hospital is about halfway through implementing the infrastructure and planning for cardiac surgery and other specialized care for heart patients. Hospital President Rhonda Crocker-Ellicott says the provincial funding was necessary to continue moving the project forward and will help provide an abundance of resources to the hospital.
At implementation, this means that there's 14 new surgical beds operating within the Health Sciences Centre, 6 critical care beds, new surgical suite, expanded ambulatory and vascular labs. So it is a major redevelopment for this organization, and the construction costs are to be developed and determined over the next couple of weeks as well as couple of years.
It was initially hoped that the project would be completed by 2022 or 2023, but Crocker-Ellicott says the new timeline to offer full cardiovascular surgeries is now spring of 2025. Anishinaabe police say the victim of a fatal ATV crash earlier this week on the Ganugaming First Nation is a 14-year-old girl from Long Lac. Her name isn't being released at the request of the family. APS responded to the incident around 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Police say the ATV, which was being driven by the girl, left the roadway and rolled over. She suffered a serious head injury and died en route to the Greenstone Hospital. There's a new COVID-19 case today in the Thunder Bay area and 4 new cases total across northwestern Ontario. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting 1 new case in the local area. The exposure source is still unknown at this time. There are now 7 active cases across the district. Meanwhile, the Northwestern Health Unit is reporting 3 new cases. 2 come from the Sioux Lookout region. The other is in the Rainy River area. There are now 5 active cases in that district, bringing the total across the Northwest to 12. Meanwhile, COVID-19 cases across Ontario are back up today. The province is reporting 660 new infections, 525 of which are among people who aren't fully vaccinated or have an unknown vaccination status. At least one health region says if the province won't offer vaccine certificates, it will look at creating its own. Natalie Johnson has more on the growing call for Ontario to follow in Quebec's footsteps.
Quebec calls it a passport to freedom, but Ontario's government continues to resist calls for a vaccine certificate.
I have no qualms about a passport at all. I think that we all have a civic responsibility to take care of each other, and I think that's the best way to do it.
I feel like we're in a time where we have to just accept, we have to do what we got to do for especially what the government officials say. The illusion of having freedom is not there anymore.
I think we're responsible for each other, so we got to step in and step up.
The Ministry of Health today denied reports that Ontario would soon adopt a vaccine passport, saying in a statement, since the start of our vaccine rollout, Ontarians have had the ability to download or print an electronic COVID-19 vaccine receipt through the provincial portal or by calling the provincial booking line should proof of vaccination be required in a certain setting, saying that version contained a watermark and a digital signature to deter forgery. But the medical officer of health for Peel Region is arguing that that's not good enough, calling on the province to implement a stronger proof of immunization system and saying that public health units are investigating developing their own vaccine certificates if the province doesn't act.
I am reiterating my call to the province to implement a vaccine certificate program. In the short term, vaccine certificates can help to reduce transmission and limit risk for those who are unvaccinated in settings where precautions cannot be consistently maintained.
Meanwhile, over in Quebec, that province is launching its own proof of immunization called Vaxicode. The app, which is available for some users to start downloading today, displays the person's name and whether they are approved for entry into a business. The government says the QR codes are watermarked and can't be copied. The system takes effect in Quebec September 1st.
A celebration of the past and the future of the local forest industry took place this afternoon. Resolute Forest Products celebrated its 20-year partnership with the Fort William First Nation, announcing a significant investment into the area's sawmill, creating dozens of local jobs in the process. Corey Nordstrom reports.
In the shadows of Mount McKay, a celebration took place to mark the 20-year relationship between Resolute Forest Products and the Fort William First Nation, and the 2 decades of the Resolute Sawmill on Darrell Avenue. The day came with more exciting news than a history lesson, however, as the company confirmed it's investing $17 million in the mill and adding an extra shift that will create 30 jobs on site.
What it means is that we're going to add kiln capacity, so that's capacity to dry more wood, and we're going to improve the footprint of the mill to make it more competitive. So it's going to mean that we produce more 1,000 board feet, we're more competitive on a per 1,000 board foot basis.
It's estimated that each job at the mill will create 3 more in the surrounding communities. The sawmill expansion is slated for startup in the 3rd quarter of 2022, and when it does, Fort William First Nation Chief Peter Collins is proud to say more of his members will be on the job site.
We want to create more jobs, and the way we're going to structure it is a very strong relationship. And the way we put forward the agreement with Resolute is 50% of the jobs will go to our members this time. The investments are good, but the job opportunities are the real investment in our community.
Thunder Bay Mayor Bill Morrow spent time in his previous career as a provincial minister vouching for the future of the lumber industry in the region. He says this announcement is even sweeter because there were times nearly a decade ago where it was unsure if the local sawmill would survive.
To see us having transitioned through a very difficult period of time for the industry right across the country, and to see how solid their operations are here in Thunder Bay, the jobs that it provides, the tax base that it provides, it's a very big deal.
Lalonde says one of the reasons this investment was made possible was the sky-high price of lumber throughout the pandemic.
We were able to take debt off of our balance sheet, a substantial amount of debt, about $250 million so far this year. But if you want to grow a business, you have to continue to invest in it. Thunder Bay is one of our best sawmills in Resolute. It's one of our biggest ones, our most competitive ones.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
The pandemic has changed the way many people work and also where they work. Home offices are now far more common, and that's the case for about 300 staffers with the City of Thunder Bay. The city's work-from-home policy was brought to council this week as administration looks to define and perhaps expand the number of departments that can do their work away from the offices of City Hall or Victoriaville. City councillors requested a number of clarifications, eventually voting to defer the policy so administration can prepare answers to a number of those queries.
But it would be possible for somebody not even to live in the city, own a home, etc., and be employed by the City of Thunder Bay under this program.
We've talked about that being a possibility in the future, hiring employees from outside of the city where perhaps we're not able to find local talent and for difficult to fill positions, perhaps, contract positions.
If we don't start adjusting and making these things happen, we're going to lose people because they're not going to work for us. So we have to look at how we're going to be able to do this. So as I said, this to me was a real good step forward.
Councillor Kristen Oliver noted that the pandemic has revealed that a disproportionate number of women can't work from home. She and Johnson were the only ones to vote against the deferral. It will return to council next June. Some bad news today for fans of the Muskeg Express. It's unlikely that the train rides will resume this year. The vintage attraction at Centennial Park returned earlier this month, but was only running for about 2 hours before a minor derailment forced it out of commission once again. Crews have been on site collecting necessary information. The investigation is now moving toward the testing stage in hopes of being able to recreate the most recent incident. Cameras will be placed on the train at track level so investigators have the best vantage point to discover the cause. Once the problem has been identified, action can then be taken to resolve it. Manager of Parks and Open Spaces, Corey Halverson, says the setback is very frustrating, but he says every step must be taken to ensure the Muskeg Express is once again safe and running smoothly.
Frustrating for the staff that have been working hard on this to get a resolution, right? We felt we had put everything forward in a way that we were able to go back into service. So, but this is not something that we take lightly. It's ultimately a health and safety item. We need to make sure this ride can run without service interruptions.
City officials are now focused on getting the train back on the tracks in 2022. Norwest Community Health Centers hosted its 4th annual Drug Amnesty event on Wednesday, allowing people to safely and anonymously dispose of drugs and drug paraphernalia, as well as medication or vitamins. The purpose is to prevent environmental contamination, which can result from the improper disposal. It also helps to reduce the resale of illicit drugs. More than 240 liters worth of substances were collected this year, more than in 2020. Organizer Michelle Colabutin says this type of initiative is important.
Opioid and an overdose epidemic in Thunder Bay, and I think lots of people feel helpless because they're not sure what to do and how to help. But I think if everyone can take responsibility for what's in their house and kind of contribute that way, that's a great way to support your community and to limit risk and to prevent some of those drugs from getting into the wrong hands. So I think if we all take that responsibility to start, we're all really still supporting that overdose and opioid epidemic.
Colabutin encourages anyone who still needs to dispose of unwanted drugs to contact a pharmacy to ensure their safe destruction. A winner has been announced in the latest St. John Ambulance annual Spring into Summer trailer draw. The ticket was pulled today for a new travel trailer worth $41,000.
And the grand prize winner is ticket number 02783. Vincent Falsigno.
That's Vince Falsino, who has won the 2021 Forest River Grey Wolf trailer. He held the lucky winning ticket out of 10,000 entries. The second place winner of a $3,000 generator was Jean Mayo, and the third prize, a $2,000 kayak, went to Elizabeth Wickstrom. All proceeds from the fundraiser stay local, going straight back into St. John's community service programs, supporting therapy dogs, youth programs, medical first response, and more. Executive Director Diana Sestowenko says they overcame a tough start to the ticket sales.
To sell over the phone. Many people have asked us, why can't you sell online? We have a municipal license which does not allow us to sell tickets online, so we could only do it through phone when everything was closed down. So people were really responsive to that. They understood there was a wait time for us to get back to them because we only have so many people. And once we were able to open the office back up, we were able to sell in-house here, and it was okay. And then we moved it over to Canadian Tire, and people were really responsive over there.
If you missed out on this year's draw, there will be another travel trailer and other prizes up for grabs next year from St. John Ambulance.
I think I'm going to have to buy myself a ticket for that one next year. Clearly missed out on some great prizes this time, didn't I?
Yeah.
Listen, Mitchell, what I did not miss out on was the weather today.